have to focus on systemic evil, not just situational evil, how a bad environment can corrupt a good people, even a whole good society. One of the biggest evils in the world now is climate change disaster is coming, and the evil is indifference. How do you change egocentrism into what I call sociocentrism? And that should be a goal of a greater society, is that make everyone sociocentric. So my first thing in my mind is, what can I do for you? Rather than what can you do for me?
Dear viewers, welcome to the Experts Opinion program, where we conduct interviews with experts and scientists on the platform of Creative Society. Creative Society is an international worldwide project, the aim of which is to unite humanity's potential, including scientific potential, and change the format of society from the consumption-based to a creative one. On the series of events titled Global Crisis, we raise issues of our modern society, real climate situation, different environmental and social issues that we deal with in society today. And the most important, we talk about the way out of the situation, the creative society. We continue to raise these topics on the international forum Global Crisis, We Are People, We Want to Live. I'm Barbara, and today with me is Alex, Roland, and Robert.
Today with us is Dr. Philip Zimbardo, living in San Francisco, an American psychologist and professor emeritus at Stanford University, worldwide known for conducting the Stanford experiment, author of multiple works like the Lucifer Effect, and also founder and president of the Heroic Imagination Project. So now we can start with the questions. Robert, Alex, please start.
Yes, really welcome you. It's really nice to see you.
Nice to be here.
Thanks. And what we want to discuss is we have saw the forum that was on the 7th May called Global Crisis, We Are People, We Want to Live. We saw many examples of real violence, of what is happening in our society. And what we came to, what we want to discuss in the first question is, in what extent does the environment where all of us are living, the rules of the system, influence the behavior of human beings?
Yes, great question. It's actually what I've been doing all of my professional life, focusing on how social environments influence people, how a bad environment can corrupt a good people, even a whole good society. So, in fact, the Stanford prison experiment is a model of how social situations which encourage people to play roles can totally distort their behavior and personality. So essentially in that experiment, I put good people, college students, intelligent college students. I gave half the role to be a guard, half the role to be a prisoner. Neither of those roles they ever even thought about. And then I put them in a social situation, a mock prison, to live for, day and night for a week. And what we saw was a very quick, almost instantaneously corruption. The young men who were playing a role of to be a guard soon became hostile, abusive, even what I would call creatively evil. They would think of new things to do to humiliate, degrade the prisoners. And the prisoners who were physically, psychologically strong, because we interviewed them before, began to have emotional breakdowns in their role as prisoner. So here are these two opposite effects, dominance and submission, produced in a basement at Stanford University. And so I extend this in the Lucifer Effect to say, good apples can be put in a bad barrel. That's the situation. But we always have to understand who are the bad barrel makers. So this is where we have to focus on systemic evil, not just situational evil. And very often the people who make those barrels are hidden. They are the power brokers in every society. And sometimes it's legal, sometimes it's corporation. So all of our criminal justice systems focus only on individuals who break the law, and then you put them in prison or whatever. But we never say, how can we change the situation that is making many people do those bad things? So in America right now, there are more than 2 million citizens in jails and in prisons. 2 million. And it's rotating. I've been talking about this for dozens of years, and it doesn't ever get better in my country.
So you're basically saying that not only environment, but also the examples that are subconsciously actually presented to people have influence on how their reactions, how their behavior could change.
Absolutely, you hit it on the head. So a big problem we have in America is racial disparity. So we have a huge percentage of our society is Afro-Americans and Latinx. And as you know from recent news situation, there have been violent confrontations between police and blacks, but it's really white and black. So racism has been going on in America, so that's a systemic curse. So it's not just a situation, but it's really what I call systemic evil. Racism in every country, and almost every country has a group that is outcast. Some places it's Roma Gypsies. Some places it was Jews. And so this is where a greater society has to rise above these individual confrontations and say, how can we change the entire society so we can eliminate racism and even sexism.
So it is said that the current format of society, the consumerist format of society, it's based on the thesis that people are evil. So the system is in fact trying to bring out the worst from the people. So, but if we think about it reversely, then if we change the society, change the conditions, then we should be able to bring out the best from the people. So what do you think about? How do you see this?
Oh, yes, of course. See, I don't think people are evil. I think people, certainly they start off good and get corrupted. Poverty corrupts. People who grow up in poverty, as I did, I grew up in poverty in the South Bronx in New York City, in the 30s. And all around me was evil, corruption. People, if you're poor, then you do things to make money. And to make money, if you're poor, those are always illegal. It's selling drugs, it's robbing, selling, stolen goods. And I was able to rise above that because I was able to look at this. And I had my mother always said, don't play with the bad boys. But I'm saying, so a situation of poverty everywhere in the world brings out the worst in people, because the worst in people is when I have to survive, when I'm living not to thrive. And a greater society encourages people to thrive, to be the best they can. Poverty makes people focus on how do I survive? And sometimes I have to survive by stealing. Sometimes I have to survive by dominating other people. Sometimes I survive by killing somebody who I think is my enemy.
Yeah, so basically, as I understand it, what you are trying to say, maybe if we can make our society, make the conditions so that everyone, every single person feels safe, has roof under his or her head, has something to eat and is warm, then, well, a lot of criminality will like disappear, right? Because there will be not this fight to survive, like of the everyday.
Oh yeah, Barbara. We can't say it will disappear, but we're talking about reducing. So it should be less. We should have less crime, less evil in our society, if we can achieve the conditions that you say. But those are very difficult to achieve in large cultures. Now, one of the unique problems in America has always been guns. That because the Americans won the revolution against the British government in 1776, fighting, there's always been a notion of the right of citizens to bear arms. So it's in the Constitution that every American citizen has the right to bear arms against an enemy. But people have misinterpreted that as all Americans should have a gun to protect themselves. So every day in America, there are people killed, including in schools with guns. So it's a gun crazy society. And I've tried very hard to try help work to change that. But, people start off say, if I have a gun, I am protecting myself and my family. But then if I have a gun, my son picks it up and goes to school and shoots an enemy or shoots a teacher he doesn't like. And this has been happening for, dozens and dozens of years. And so I don't know how, because the gun culture is part of the mentality of Americans, which is different than, British, Canadians, et cetera, nations all around America, all around the United States, not America. Yeah.
And I think that it's not just a question of guns, but if we look at the media, like the films, everything that they show us is like to be a hero with a gun. So, however, when like here in Slovakia, we do not have guns that many like in the USA, but we also have that kind of thinking that if we want to change something, we need to do revolutions, we need to fight, we need to kill somebody. And I think that this is the problem, that we want to change something with fights. However, like we see it should go through like evolution. What do you say on?
Yeah, it's really a good point you raise. It's, so what you said at the beginning is about media. So as a child growing up, I would go to the movies every Saturday, and many, many times the movies would be about cowboys and soldiers versus the American Indians, whose land we were stealing. And then there was a famous gun called Winchester 76, a rifle that was very accurate, and you could shoot many bullets in a row. And so the idea is America won the West because Americans had populated the East Coast coming from Europe, and then the country was moving west to occupy more and more land. But this is land that the American Indians owned and lived on. So Indians had to be conquered, in many cases killed in battles, to steal their land. And there was a movie about this gun. Imagine, so you talk about the media, a whole movie about this wonderful gun, Winchester 76, that was used to kill Indians. And so I'm saying, I remember as a child thinking how terrible that was, that first of all, that you would have a movie about a gun. And secondly, you would have a movie about how we killed Americans, the people who own the land, Americans, Indians. And so the media has a really big role, not only movies in every country, but also the news media. So again, the news media every single day will say, "Oh, 2 people have been shot in San Francisco," and essentially they just give you a map. But here's where it was. They don't have any suspects. The police are, frowning up. So so I am simply used to every night how many people have been killed today by guns by some unknown person. And then the interesting thing is, who was that unknown person? Will they find him, or will he kill somebody else? Yeah. So I think the greatest society has to focus on how do you influence the media to present more positive stories and fewer negative stories. There's a statement in America about the media: if it bleeds, then it leads. Meaning stories about violence are the ones that start the program off. So as soon as you tune in, they say 6 people were killed. There was a tornado in such and such. There's a hurricane. So it's the negative thing starts the program off to get the attention of viewers. And if it's nice, it's not good spice. It's put at the end of the program.
Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, we see these examples everywhere. Unfortunately, we also know, from different studies, for example, that in Germany it's also controlled by some powerful organizations and people who own some huge companies. So it was always used as a method for manipulation, and especially one of the main issues. And again, this violence that human's life is costs less than money. So profit makes people kill. Profit makes people steal other children and give them to slavery. And we saw these examples all over the world.
So again, it's the evil of corporations that I call systemic evil rather than situational evil. And usually this is behind the scenes, so that in many cases, big business of a certain kind can buy politicians. So one of the biggest evils in the world now is climate change disaster is coming, and the evil is indifference. So you're right. We have to focus on who are the corporations that are corrupting democracy.
When I was reading your book, The Lucifer Effect, what caught my eye at the first moment was that you proposed that actually it is the power that corrupts people. When you put people in a situation, in a position where they have power to decide on, and it doesn't really matter if it's politics, if it's economy, if it's basically any institution with vertical hierarchy where we can find it. Everywhere we can find this problem. So maybe when I'm hearing what you are saying, the problem is how our entire society is functioning. When you put people into this position, then it's all about money. It's all about how I can earn more and more, and I'm not looking about the lives of the people. What comment can you make on this?
Yes, of course. Well, thanks for reading my book and extracting one of the main messages is power has the opportunity to corrupt. but it also is, if you have power, then you have an opportunity to make change. That's the most important thing. So you have the opportunity to change what's bad into something good. So, for example, within a family, usually the oldest child has power over the younger ones because, you know, they're smaller, they're weaker. And I can remember my mother saying, your job is to take care of your younger brothers and sister. You know, your job is to see that they are taken care of, that nobody abuses them. Because again, I said we lived in a ghetto. And so there was a case where my mother said, you have physical power, you're bigger, you're stronger, you're first. And you have the power of being number one, but use it wisely and use it well. So that's a statement. Those in power should be encouraged to use their power wisely and well to help other people who have less power. And ideally, what you want to say is you want to be able to create a society where power is shared rather than there are dominant people, you know, because they're richer, dominant people because they're of their skin color. So again, it seems to me that a greater society project is how do you get people to share power rather than hoard it, rather than use it against other people who have less power.
Yes, it's absolutely true. Please.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's absolutely true. And that's actually one of the things that's there will be no concept as power, because when the power is actually shared between people, so the people who are right now in power, they're not also in danger, because they're also the science shows us, neuroscience, that people who are in power, they have issues with mirror neuron system, and a system where they're they cannot feel others people and try understand their problems, because they think that they're examples for others, and these mechanisms just stop working, so they stop understanding other people. And unfortunately, after some time, they do not realize what common people issues are. They just thinking about themselves, and then this internal crisis.
Absolutely. Yes. So in my hero project, called Heroic Imagination Project, which I started 15 years ago, you know, many of our basic themes are ordinary people are capable of extraordinary actions. And those extraordinary actions are focused on helping other people. So it's like every day in every way, what can you do to make someone else's life better? And so we even for children, we call children, you know, so children are a part of the collection of people I send messages to, children in elementary schools, in high schools. And so it's been very successful, you know, just thinking about how do you change anybody who is egocentric? So to survive, I have to think about me. What do I need? I need food. I need education. I need some power. How do you change egocentrism into what I call sociocentrism? And that should be a goal of a greater society, is that make everyone sociocentric. So my first thing in my mind is, what can I do for you? Rather than what can you do for me? And so when everybody is thinking that way, it's not easy to do. It's like, it's a mental revolution. Then we create a greater society, a better, not greater, I don't want to impose on your plan, but you create a better society. So egocentrism combined with power leads to dictators, political dictators, but also bullies. You know, sociocentrism combined with appreciation and loving of other people leads to a gentle, caring society.
Well, yes, that's exactly one of the key ideas of the Creative Society project as well. And I think it's also in the 8 foundations, where it's basically, it's put in a way that not what the society can do for me, and I'm the one who needs help, but what we or I can do for the society. And as you mentioned earlier, also media plays a great role in that, because instead of showing the blood itself, they should show daily or day-to-day projects or actions of ordinary people, how they help, maybe show that kids in the school did something, some project that helped, I don't know, elderly people to go and help them to go shopping or something like that. This is what they should show, and then give an example to others, because we learn by seeing examples, and then people might start thinking, oh, this is good. This is something that this is what actually the heroism is.
Yeah. But again, I would take it down to the level of, in every single class, a teacher who has a lot of power over students should say, I want to hear, before we begin our lesson, what did any of you do to help someone else? So that becomes part, essentially it's mind control. You want to put into the mind of children that I should be doing something to help someone else. Helping an old lady across the street is one thing. Helping a student who's not doing well, to help them with their homework. So helping my mother washing the dishes so she doesn't, or going shopping with her. But essentially, it's getting into the mentality of children. What can I do to make the world better for someone else? And it starts in your family, but it starts in your neighborhood. But teachers have a lot of power. So I would suggest for the Greater Society, how do you get teachers to make a commitment to include in every class some, not a whole program, some conception of encouraging students to be what I call everyday heroes. Do a thing that makes the world better for someone else. And it could be, as I said, a little thing. If there's an elderly person nearby that you could go shopping for them, you could say, what is it you need? They give you a list, they give you the money, and you go and you shop. That's enormous. Many elderly people can no longer leave their home because they're handicapped. They can't afford a scooter or whatever. So teachers are role models for students, and we want teachers to model the Greater Society basic themes.
I'd like to link to this topic because there is a strange thing we can see in the society. That's when the the types of these kind of heroes appear, these ordinary heroes. Many times they have to face criticism. Many times other people are trying to put dirt on them. So why is this all happening? Why is it?
Why do people put down heroes?
Why are trying they to put dirt on these heroes? Why are they criticizing them, telling them that you are trying to do something which is fairy tale, which is not real, that there cannot be any change, and like they have to face this kind of negative way?
Yeah, I was just going to say, there are too many people who think negatively, and heroes represent the positive in human nature. Now, the other thing is, once somebody does a heroic deed, it means I didn't, and I could have. Like giving blood to a blood bank to help strangers live, people with kidney problems live, is, for me, heroic. So I'm trying to change the nature of heroism from somebody who's going to give their life going to surrender their life to help somebody else live. But so the everyday hero is somebody who does little things. And we want to put in your mind, is something you do every day in every way. Giving somebody a compliment, making them feel good, is a small step on the path of heroism. So people who criticize heroes, at one level, they really wish they had done it, and the hero is getting attention. What I'm saying is, you want to get to the point where it's intrinsic. That is, I don't need a medal. I don't need people to say, you did a wonderful thing. I know in my mind, I did the right thing at the right time to make somebody else's life better. So that's, again, the theme of sociocentrism dominating egocentrism.
Yeah, so I think what you are just saying, it is really important for each and every one of us to become this kind of a hero, because as you mentioned, we are facing also the climate change, and the situation is worsening every day. And we cannot be sure that, tomorrow it will be us that will be hit but by some disaster. And what will help us to survive as a society is to start behaving like these heroes, to help each other, and in this way to unite. The question, well, maybe the last question is, how can we encourage each and every person to do this, to be proactive and to start this change in the society? How is it important today for each and everyone to understand that we need to do this?
Yeah, that is the big question. That, I mean, two things you raised. First, climate change disaster is imminent. It may be too late. It may be too late to reverse it. I live in California, and we have a drought. We have almost no rain for 3 or 4 months, which means that all the forests are dry, which means that if there's lightning striking, we have forest fires. Like last year, we had maybe 20 or 30 forest fires that killed many people, that destroyed their homes, that wiped out beautiful forests. At the same time, in the middle of America, they were having floods and hurricanes. On the north side of America, they were having snowstorms. So just in America, the climate change has produced dramatic, extreme weather conditions, but very different. And also, for example, now, while California, which is on the west coast of the United States, is having a drought, above us in the north, Portland and Seattle, Vancouver in Canada, are having extreme rain all the time. So it's totally, the negative effects are totally unpredictable, but they're here. And so again, it's, how do we create eco-heroes? How do we create young people who say, what can we do to save our planet from this imminent disaster? So that would be one thing. But it's getting teachers involved. Maybe the Greater Society project should work with teachers associations in every country. Maybe work with Boy Scouts, Boy Scout and Girl Scout organizations in every country that teach, be prepared, do, as I was a Boy Scout, we talk, do good to others. And there's also the basic Christian thing is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So here's being sociocentric with an underlying level of, if I do good, then when I'm needed, good will come back to me.
Well, and
it's a big job. You got a big job ahead.
Yeah, and it's a positive thing to think that we all are able to do this, because as you mentioned, all people are good. So it is just up to us to start behave in this good way and, become this hero in our everyday life. I would like to thank you for your time. Thank you for being with us today. It was really delightful. I'm very thankful for you. And to our viewers, we wish you a happy evening. Goodbye.
Thank you so much. And I applaud the work you're doing. I didn't know about it till you contacted me. It's a wonderful project. I don't know if you're in California or San Francisco. If you are, I will endorse it, support it to all of the people who follow my lead, because it's wonderful what you're doing, and we need more of it in every society. And also, before we end, my family is Sicilian. My grandfather's side. I go to Sicily every year for 16 years until the pandemic. I'm about to go back next week. I started an educational foundation that sends high school graduates to college. Before I started, no Sicilian high school student ever went to college, because they said when you graduate, the mafia will take care of you, that you don't need a degree. And I changed that mentality. So I think your program would be really welcomed in Sicily, and especially in Palermo, where I work closely with a team of people who brought African migrants to Palermo, taught them Italian, gave them housing, gave them clothing, taught them values. And now those Muslim African migrants are our teachers in Sicilian elementary school, grade school, high schools. And so it's a wonderful story about when everybody was turning migrants away. They accepted a relatively small number from Africa, but then gave them the resources to be effective. And now this is years later, they are teachers and trainers. And the last thing is, so we give them, let's say, 50 euros for every class they teach, half of which they send back to their parents, so that the parents feel that the child didn't desert them, but they're helping them survive. So it's a wonderful, for me, it's a wonderful story. I'm really looking forward to going back in, as I said, in a few weeks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for these examples.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you very much. Bye.
whole good society.